You are listening to Freshly Squeezed.
We didn't care then. We don't really care now. Just wanting to play music, make music, and hopefully people enjoy our music and want to listen to it.
Alright, squeezers, or squeezies if you prefer, welcome to another new music podcast. This is Freshly Squeezed, and if you don't already follow, you can find us on your social media feed of choice under Squeezedcast, at Squeezedcast. So, even more new music goodness and band discovery going on those channels, and that is exactly the vibe each and every week here on the podcast. I'm Jim, how you doing? And I was thinking of doing some cringy Easter puns on this episode, as we've just had the long bank holiday, but I've thought better off it, which I think you'll agree is excellent news. Yeah? Okay, let me tell you what's coming up on the podcast. We've got a proper boppy, noughties, indie-style anthem from the brilliant Brook Fox to play. That's called Together, and we'll get into that with Brook in a bit. Plus, we've got some driving rock from the band Rosa on the way, who are making a bit of a comeback after a short hiatus.
Blessed be the boy that burns with desire, with snapping bones and all, trudging the mire.
They've been around a little while, Rosa, but they might be new on your musical radar. They're very cool. They're well worth checking out, and we'll be chatting to them in a bit as well. But before that, sometimes you just get a bit of a feeling about an artist, a sense that they're about to explode, a sense they're about to become the next big thing. And I think that might be the case with the first act on this week's Freshly Squeezed. In a year's time, you may well be hearing the name Ruby May everywhere. And when you do, you can say you heard her here first on Freshly Squeezed. She'll be on the pod shortly, but first, let's check out her brand new tune. I think we should. It's called You Make Me Feel Good.
Hey, what's your name? I like to get to know you. What's with the face? What's with the melodrama? You suffocate. Oh, what a shame. You're gonna waste away. You took her out. Where was the work that told you? You're sick and tired. Well, I can fix it for you. I recognize those bloodshot eyes. You're gonna waste away. Ooh, if you need me to be the one. Ooh, let it go and stop holding on. We all need somebody, someone who can make you feel good, not just anybody. Someone who can make you feel good.
Just from hearing that, I'm sure you would back her to be massive as well. So let's speak to her. Very cool tune, and Ruby May is on the podcast. Welcome, Ruby.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start off by rewinding the clock a little bit. So 2022, 2023 time, I think it was, I saw you playing a bar in Stockport called Basque. Basque is no longer there. It was great. It was by the train station, but it's no longer there.
No, it's not.
Do you remember that gig?
I do remember that. I've actually played there a few times. I love Basque. Ben, who runs it, is amazing. He's always been really supportive of my music. So, gosh, yeah, throwback.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about what you were doing then and what you were doing now. And I think there's a real difference between the two singles you've put out and what you were doing back then. You were obviously Ruby J back then, you're now Ruby May. How would you describe that shift, if in fact you do see a shift?
I think it's just sort of maturity and realising the sort of music I wanted to do. I think back then I didn't really have much of a clear view with the music I was putting out. I was just sort of playing for the sake of it in a way as well, like doing every gig I could under the sun. And yeah, a lot of maturity in writing. I started working with some songwriters. Like I wrote this project with Glenn Roberts and Rich Turvey. Rich Turvey's based in Liverpool, so he's worked with a lot of indie bands actually, a lot of like the Coral and Blossoms. And then Glenn comes from sort of like poppy background, so we ended up with a really cool modern soul sound that I love. And that's when I realised, oh, this is the music I want to be making and writing and putting out. It's really evolved into something that I'm really proud of, and I can't wait to put more music out.
I think I'd describe it as a smoothing of the edges. Back then, what you were doing, there was an element of kind of like, there was definitely the soul and the Motown in there, but there was also a slight hint of punk in there. It was like Amy Winehouse meets John Lydon, but now it does feel like it's got a singular direction. Do you think that move towards soul and Motown, given like your early influences that you talked about before, do you think that was kind of inevitable?
Yeah, for sure. Because I've always grown up, like, I grew up with a lot of Motown and soul in my household, and a lot of reggae as well. Because I'm quarter Jamaican, so I grew up with a lot of like Bob Marley and even like the likes of like Erykah Badu and Nina Simone and artists like that. So I think it's always been engraved into me. I just just haven't got it out yet.
One of the big changes, I think, over the period between then and now is obviously you're now working with the support of Two Tone Entertainment, who are in turn backed by Warner Brothers. How has it felt to get that kind of backing and that kind of belief behind your music?
It's been so nice. I had a bit of a tricky time, like earlier on in my journey with, quite a lot of toxic people around me. And only recently have I come out of that. Like the last 2 years have been a lot of big changes, and for the better, obviously. And I've got a really amazing team around me now who've been so supportive with, this new era, and it's been so nice to be able to put music out in a good environment rather than a stressful, suffocating environment, which it has been for the last sort of 7 years of my life.
You mentioned earlier the people you've been co-writing with, Rich Turvey, Glenn Roberts, who's written for Olivia Dean before. You speak very positively about that and you speak very glowingly about that. But I imagine, I'm trying to put myself in your world where I've been writing music for X amount of years, then I've got this kind of label backing, and then someone's come to me and said, look, we want you to work with co-writers. Undoubtedly, the kind of result is positive, but what's in your mind at that point when someone's kind of going, here, we want you to work with these people? Do you kind of embrace it, or is there a part of you that goes, hang on, these are my tunes, I know what I'm doing here?
It's a good question. I think at first it was quite daunting because like the writing process is really vulnerable, and when you're writing songs about your life and experiences, you really have to lay it all out, and it's sort of like a therapy session in a way. But luckily the people I write with are so open-minded and are super positive. In a way, it's been a learning process for me because obviously they've got so much experience of writing with different artists, and I've learned so much just from working with them, and it's actually helped me write songs in an easier process, really, because before I think I was just sort of finding grooves and throwing random words at it and seeing what stuck. I didn't have a process really, and it's been really good to work with the likes of them. So like Rich will like do the producing, so like the music and the instruments, and then me and Glenn will sort of like work on the lyrics and the topical themes. And they're so good at like helping me get my brain thoughts like into song form, which is harder than you think.
Does it become difficult to keep that authenticity behind your music and keep the tunes yours when you've got other people working with you on them? Or is it more just kind of a support network for you?
It's definitely a support network, I think, because they're so used to working with artists, and they are conscious of like not steering me away from what I was like originally loved about music, so like the soul and jazz. So we're really precious about keeping that the same, but developing it in a way that is like a modern-esque, and a way that feels new and unique. I mean, I'm vocal in the sessions anyway. If I would ever feel like I was steering too pop or whatever, towards the wrong genre, or if I was writing and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right, I would always say. So yeah, it's a really precious process, and I really enjoy it.
Speaking of that authenticity, I absolutely love your social channels and how you present yourselves on there. I think there's a real truth behind it, and despite having this major label support, you're still working in a pub, you're making videos in the stock room.
Yeah.
Has it been important to you to kind of show that side of your journey?
Yeah, I think at first I was a bit reluctant to. I think I was like, oh, do people really share like the real reality, like the
Well, no,
the
they
grim
don't.
reality?
That's the problem. They don't,
No,
and it's like but it's great to see it.
Yeah. But I think I just wanted to be like, with this new era, I just wanted to be really like real and authentic. And this is me, this is who I am. And it's not all glitz and glamour, everyone starts somewhere. And do you know what? I actually love working at the pub as well, as much as I moan. Obviously, I don't want to be a bartender for the rest of my life. I actually quite enjoy it, and it's so nice to meet so many different people, and everyone's actually really supportive of my music, so that's been lovely as well. But no, independent artists, it's so hard to do this without working a side job. It's just the reality. Like most artists are doing a side job or working, maybe like within the industry, like doing rapping or artist liaison, and it's hard. Of course it's hard because you have to balance the two, and you have to sort of not get tied into the day job too much as well, even if you need the money. So it's a hard balance, but I've made it work for me, I think.
Well, hard work is paying off. You Make Me Feel Good is the new single, which we're going to play in a minute. You've got the debut EP, Movement, your first ever body of original work, which is an amazing thing to do as an artist. That is out now. It's been great to watch your journey. Good luck with the new record, and thanks so much for chatting to me on Freshly Squeezed.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Ooh, let it go and stop holding on. We all need somebody, someone who can make it feel good, not just anybody, someone who can make it feel good. We all need somebody, someone who can make it feel good, not just anybody, someone who can make it feel good, make it feel good.
Really into that. Links to more of Ruby's stuff is in the podcast description, although there is a bit of a clean slate with this new stuff. If you want to find their old stuff, which is slightly different, but still very cool, you need to search for Ruby J wherever you get music, rather than Ruby May, which is the name she's going under now. Right, handbrake on. Let's go in a slightly different musical direction, heading into the town of indie pop, and Brook Fox is in the driving seat for that, talking about his new tune Together. Hey, Brook.
Hello.
So you're based in Bury Port in Wales, which has a population of only 5,500 people, which is about as many people that can fit in the Royal Albert Hall in London, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. Growing up in a small town, making music in a small town, how's that impacted your journey so far as an artist?
It's got its challenges, but I mean, I think the town is so supportive as well. They've got my back, and like seeing some people travel, as far as as London is absolutely crazy. Like I said, it's got its challenges. It's a little bit of a barrier, but at the same time, it's a blessing.
What's the biggest venue you've played in Bury Port? I assume there are venues there and you can play them. What's the largest venue you've played there?
There's a pub called Poppies, and we actually filmed a live session there the other day, but we did a little bit of a charity gig upstairs, and it's like 100 cap venue kind of thing.
So what's that? That's like 2% of the population turning out to see you or something like that. If you could turn that
Yeah.
into a global scale, you're in a good place.
Exactly, yeah.
Your new tune Together, we mentioned it at the top there, written about your hometown and how it feels being slightly different to everyone else and that kind of desire to escape. I'm assuming this is autobiographical in some way?
Yeah, so it's kind of written from my perspective. It was on a bit of a night out, and I remember people just looking at me different after I'd started writing songs and releasing them, as if why is this guy doing this? Why is he trying to leave? Does he think he's better than us? That kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know, I just kind of felt judged. So that song came out of that, I guess.
A bit of tall poppy syndrome, I think's the phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
You started writing during lockdown. Did the small town thing play a part in that? Because I guess in that kind of period of time, you would have felt even more isolated and cut off from the wider world. So did the songwriting become a bit of an escape?
Definitely, yeah. And out of time, it was almost like purgatory. You didn't know what time it was, what day it was. I think I progressed my songwriting, and, well, my ability to play the guitar, I literally learned it all through lockdown. I think the motivation to do something and to kill time, that was definitely a massive part for me in lockdown.
At that time, did it ever cross your mind that it could go somewhere else, or were you writing and playing for you at that point?
I was just doing it for me at that point, to be honest. I shared a couple of TikToks, one or two did alright, little cover ones, and then I started doing cover gigs, and it kind of went from there, I guess.
You're not always writing from personal experience. We've talked a lot about your journey, but I know previously you've taken inspiration from films before, in particular Trainspotting, culture as well. Where do you find you are most comfortable writing? Where do you feel like you're in your own skin?
Definitely from personal experience, but sometimes it's nice having a skeleton. So we look at different songs from the indie pop rock kind of scene, And sometimes we'd have a look like, oh, the drums sound nice in this song. We'll have a little bit of that. But, kind of using those ingredients from other songs and using them in our recipe in the studio, which is, I think that's quite cool. I think a lot of other bands do that. But from songwriting perspective, definitely I'd say I'm more inspired from my own personal experiences. But then again, like the song Wonderful, that was inspired by Trading Spot, and it was something completely different. And I think I want to do that again. So hopefully I'm in promo mode at the minute, but when we get back to the writing room and stuff like that, it's something to consider.
Listening to tunes like Wonderful and the new tune Together and a bit of your back catalogue, it feels like there's been a bit of a change of direction, something new with the new music. I think the old stuff maybe sounded like early Sam Fender, lent in that direction. This new one, it feels a bit bigger. It reminds me more of the likes of Two Door Cinema Club. What's prompted the change?
Definitely the live band. So the last, what was it? So Together Now is the first of 4 singles, well, an EP really, that we're announcing very shortly. But we had the live band in the studio and the other singles didn't. And I think that's definitely made a massive change in, production and of course recording live drums, having my guitarist, have a little bit of freedom. I'm not just chained to just one mindset. I've got, 4 opinions and they're all like molded into one now. That made Together what it is, and I can't wait to show the other songs as well because they're so different as well.
How have you felt that change in dynamic? Because that's a big shift going from a solo artist where you're going, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going, this is what you guys are going to do, to kind of having a group mentality where you've got a melting pot of ideas. How have you adapted to that?
I kind of like it. It's like reassurance sometimes because I'd say like I bring the idea to the table and then I've got people to critique me as well, which is nice. Like I can take criticism quite well, I think. And at the same time, I'm quite grateful for it because it's going to make a good idea, well, a potentially good idea to something absolutely great. I think it's a massive benefit and I'm lucky to have the boys as well on the writing side.
As I said, the new song reminds me a lot of Two Door Cinema Club. It's definitely got that noughties indie vibe to it. And I've heard you speaking before about Catfish and the Bottlemen, how big a fan you are or were of them. Do you think now you've got the band together in the studio, that might be a sound you can lean into?
Yeah, so I can say a little bit. So our next single is definitely a very Catfish-esque song. Like we've gone the more like rock direction with that one. Still got that indie feel. We've even got like a half-time like switch up solo. It's very similar to like their album The Ride with the solos on that. And we're like the energy in that one as well, like the distorted guitars, it's something completely different for me. We listened back to it and we were like, we've got to release this one. It's like this is the next one to come out.
Well, there'll be a lot of Catfish fans looking to fill that void that the band have currently left at the moment.
I know. Me included. Like I think a lot of people say make music for yourself. So that's that song for me,
Good plan. Well, for now, we've got Together to enjoy. Brooke, we're going to play it on Freshly Squeezed. Nice one for your time.
Thank you very much.
Pool cues and vermin climb the walls tonight, overdue and familiar faces, and I can't stand it here. I've always wanted to escape, and now I think I found a reason. Together we can find a way. I know that you want to. Together we can find a way to get out of this place. Together we can find a way. I know that I want you. Together we can find a way to get out of this place.
That's Brook Fox and his brand new tune Together. Like that? Like Ruby May? Like the podcast? If you're enthusiastically nodding along, then there is 3 good reasons to hit that follow button wherever it is you're listening right now. Ensure you don't miss any future pods. We're turning the volume up a little bit now for the final band this week. That is Luna Rosa. If you liked Thumper last week, you're going to like this. But before we get into the music, let's get a chat with Rory from the band. How do, Rory?
How are you? All good?
Yes, I'm very good. Let's talk about new tune The Luge, which is being flagged as the opening chapter of a new phase for Luna Rosa. What's the story there? Is it a page turn? Is it a reset? What are we gearing up for?
We took some time away really to record, spent a lot of time out from gigging. We thought this was the best song to start back up with.
Like you say, you have taken some time out. 2 years since the last new music. What has filled that void? If you've not been gigging, has it purely been writing, been prepping, or did you take a step back from the band? What's been the story?
So we did a bit of traveling. We did furthered our education. Mainly as a band, we've been writing new tunes and just getting ourselves together, really.
Last year, I think, was your decade anniversary as a band. Certainly a decade from the first release, anyway. Looking back now and kind of taking that pause that you've had to glance at what you've done, how do you feel about that journey?
I mean, it's good. It's good to see how far you've sort of came. It's almost like the first lot of songs we recorded. They're not cringy, but you sort of cringe looking back at them now that you're like a better musician, a better writer. I mean, I'm still proud of them, but it's like looking back on a completely different person, to be honest. I don't know when I wrote them or how I wrote them or why I wrote them.
I think you're in an interesting place as a band when you kind of get to the stage you're at, where you've been going a fair amount of time. You've played some really good gigs. You've had some interesting support slots. You've had success and built up a fan base of kind of a certain size, but at the same time, you're not the Foo Fighters and you're not flying around on private jets and you're not playing Wembley and kind of that side of things. If you rewound to when the band started a decade ago and kind of said, look, this is what's going to happen, you kind of know it's a hobby when you start out on one side, but on the other side, you're going, well, it just needs that one person in the crowd to hear our tune, or it just needs that TikTok video to take off. How do you think you would have felt about describing what's happened to you over the last 10 years to you 10 years ago?
We're very proud of like all the slots we've played in the festivals and the gigs and the music we've created. But in terms of like popularity, when we started, we didn't have any social media. We didn't care then. We don't really care now, if that makes any sense. It's always been just wanting to play music, make music, and hopefully gain fans and have people that enjoy our music and want to come see it and listen to it. I've never had social media as myself when I was younger. When the band didn't, it was I think someone must have set it up. And it's
Just appeared.
it's more
Just
prominent
happened.
now, and obviously, yeah, someone did it. It is more prominent now, and it does help. But I think because we've had so much support from bands and like radio and getting decent slots on gigs, we've just continued to make the music we want to make because clearly it's worked and people want to hear it.
Well, the music you're making now, I think, feels slightly different to the music you were making before. Certainly this new tune, it feels a little bit less dark. It feels like the grooves are slightly bigger. There's a bit more drive behind the tunes as well. I mentioned Foo Fighters earlier. Listening to this latest tune, it actually reminded me a little bit of DOA by Foo Fighters.
All right, yeah.
Is this the direction you think the band are going to head in now for this new era?
I think, I mean, because we listen to so much music ourselves, we've never said, this is what we're doing now. This is the music we're going to make, or this is the genre we're going to follow. It's always been, I'll write a tune or someone will bring an idea. And if we like it at the time, then we like it and we go with it. We've always sort of stuck to trying to make a song an anthem, making it as big as possible. And almost like each song needs to be a story. So you need to feel different than you do at the start to the end. There needs to be some sort of change within yourself and within the music. But I don't know about a direction. I don't feel we've ever had a direction. I think we've just got a few simple rules that we try and stick to. And the main one being, if we enjoy it and think it's a good song, then we'll do it.
Well, you've nailed the anthemic part on the new tune.
Thank you.
I just want to rewind a few years back to the pandemic quickly, because I understand that as a band, you were heavily involved in collecting money for the Music Venues Trust to save local venues. How do you feel about the plight of those places now, as looking back, as challenging as the pandemic was, things for grassroots venues haven't really got any less challenging over that period?
No, I think it's awful. It's like you said, it's not really changed since the pandemic, but I think it's more of a societal thing where people aren't consuming media or entertainment the same way they did. There's not this need to leave your house to find something. There's not a need to go entertain yourself because you've got it all within your home, which is a shame. But I think you'll always have a group of people in society that need it and want to get out and create that community. So although they're dying off, there's still a big community that's always going to support it. And I think there always will be, because you can sit and listen to an album in your house and it sounds great, but it doesn't compete with going to see a live band.
What's that community like where you guys are? Because you're in Corby, which is Northampton area, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, Northamptonshire, yeah. So to be fair, there's not a huge scene, but the community of musicians that are here, everyone has everyone's back and supports each other tremendously, and always has done. In the early days, it was more of a metal sort of scene with some quite big bands coming out of here. But the up and coming bands, we try to support them. They support us. We have jam nights. There's not really many venues for original music, so we have to venture out. But the musicians that are here definitely all support each other.
One final question, slight change of pace with this one. I can tell by just speaking to you, you're a man who loves a crisp, and I'm going to ask you about your desert island crisps. So if you were stranded as a band on a desert island and you had nothing to eat bar one particular flavour and one particular brand of crisps, what would it be?
That's a strange question, but
It's an important question is what it is, Rory.
yeah, mine would be McCoy's steak, I think.
Okay, that's a bold flavour to go with
Yeah,
to the end of
I
time.
like bold flavours.
It's a good flavour. And it kind of goes with the music as well. Bold tune, bold flavour.
Yeah.
Rory, great to speak to you. Really enjoying the new tune, The Luge. I'm going to play it now, see if anyone else can pick up on that Foo Fighters thing. But great to have you on Freshly Squeezed.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Rosa, your final of the three bands on this week's musical showcase. If you want more from any of those acts, then get into the podcast description and find the links to more of their stuff. It's very almost Cheers for Your Ears time, but final bit of admin, let me just get my list, tick things off. Tell people to follow the podcast if they like the show. Yep, I've done that. Tick. Link for the band in the podcast description. Yep, done that. Follow on socials at squeezedcast.com. I've plugged that. Yep, tell a mate. Oh, I've not done that. Make sure if you've got a mate who's into new music and likes discovering the next big thing about the podcast, tell them about the show because they will love it. And if you know someone that's in a band, get them onto the pod as well. They might want to come on for a chat and have their music featured. Right, all the job's done. I'll catch you next week. Cheers for your ears.
The award-winning Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and posted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Ant McGinley. Theme music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.